Hi, and welcome to Shape Language. I'm your host, Alvin Lee, and with me I have two amazing artists. I have Arnold Tsang, art director of Azuki, former character art director of Overwatch, and beside him we have Moby Francke, of course, former art director of Valorant and Team Fortress 2. And together we have a ton of art experience, so let's react to some art. This is episode 6, which is actually very serendipitous because we're both from the 6.
The 6.
This Toronto, which is, as if you don't know, like Toronto is known as the 6. So first up we have Booyah.
Oh man, okay.
I mean, this is Azuki.
But yeah, it starts off with a collection of NFTs, profile pics, that we put out in mid-January.
Yeah.
And we're just getting the ball rolling now, and we're continuing to build.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's lots of cool stuff we're gonna have in store.
But you're more focused on the brand of Azuki. But the NFTs is the launch. Is like the hype driver.
Yeah, that's kind of like what we launched with.
That's so cool.
But there's a lot of things we want to do. We want to get into streetwear.
Yeah.
We want to get into all kinds of stuff.
I do know or read about something about the incentivizers for Azuki having to do with the garden.
Yeah, I guess you can say the garden is the Azuki community. And
okay.
When you have an Azuki, when you're holding Azuki, you're part of that exclusive community.
That's awesome. Let's move on, shall we? This is you being introduced as the art director.
Yeah.
When I saw this piece, it immediately reminded me of that piece you did for One Piece.
Oh, yeah.
Like around the dinner table,
yeah.
like doing hot pot or something.
Yeah.
It was like an ode to that.
And I'm actually eating red bean dessert, kind of like as a ritualistic thing.
So yeah, it's a cool concept for sure. Like the garden, the Azuki bean, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And let's just dive right in. I mean, these are some of the NFTs that you've dropped. But the crazy thing, obviously, that needs to be mentioned is the fact that there's 10,000.
Yes.
How did you accomplish creating 10,000? Because that is a monumental task.
Yeah, so obviously, like, we didn't draw 10,000 by hand. You have your hair, headgear, eyes, mouth, clothing, and then special stuff on top. All of those are in different layers. We have this, software that generates 10,000. Or you can generate way more than that too.
Right, but you don't want to like oversaturate. Obviously.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Anime NFT Azuki is seeing $300 million in sales.
Dang.
Overtaking Bored Apes and Cryptopunks.
So first of all, that's a very clickbaity headline. Because we overtake Bored Apes and Cryptopunks for like, the volume in seven days or whatever.
Yeah.
And the 300 million, that is in secondary sales?
Yeah, like where it's been traded. Yeah, I know what you mean, but you still are making royalties off of it, I'm sure.
Right, and that's the great thing about NFTs is like, it brings, like, no matter how many times it's traded on the market, the original creators get a little piece of it.
That's freaking nuts. It seems like your NFT collectors are really into the spirits. The spirits are the ones that are going for the most, it seems. Yeah.
When we're coming up with like the different looks and traits for Azuki, like we really wanted something that stood out as like, oh, this is rare. Like there's a saying in NFTs where, oh, it looks rare.
Last thing about this before we move on, that price is real though, right? It's like 138,000 for this in Ethereum for this piece.
That is real.
That is crazy. Okay, let's move on because we're gonna look at this for a second.
Oh man. All right.
I mean, I love this one, and this one is obviously your most liked one. This is the best part too, like the rocket going to Mars, and then Elon smokes it.
Yeah, the famous Joe Rogan appearance.
Yeah, so this was your first foray into the NFT space. So you were doing these crazy elaborate animations.
Yeah, and so each frame was either hand animated or it was like manipulated.
Slightly,
the pieces are moved around, warped. My dream was that he saw this at some point.
Did he share it?
I don't know, he didn't.
Oh.
That was my goal. My goal was like, oh man, if Elon retweets this, he's gonna go to the moon. But
it's gonna go to Mars. Okay, this is our next artist.
Cryptopunks is like one of the original NFT collections by Larva Labs, I think.
Larva Labs, right? Exactly. Yeah. John Watkinson and Matt Hall. There's like a special standard that they created, the ERC 721 standard.
Yeah.
That's where the 10,000 came from, right?
Well, you can mint as many as you want with the ERC 721. It doesn't have to be 10,000. The fact that they did 10,000, it was just like this magical number that had enough variety but also scarcity.
This is like just a little snippet of some of their collection. And obviously each one is a little bit different, and they use coding like you were saying. And here, this collection of punks, Punk Sweep, sold for $20 to $30 million.
Okay.
It originally was bought for $7 million, so that's like a 3x flip.
Damn.
You know? Jesus. This one was apparently traded for or bought for $530 million.
Excuse me?
Half a billion. Yeah, you heard me. Yeah.
Was that by a single buyer, or was that a DAO? Or?
Yeah. See, that's the thing though, is that there's a little bit of like iffiness to this. Apparently, like somebody bought it from themselves.
Dang.
But that made like headlines everywhere, and I think it was just to promote this piece. You know what I mean? So there is a caveat to it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of people that don't like NFTs, because like I think there's a lot of scams out there. All those things that people say about NFTs is probably true, and it's so unregulated. That's why with Azuki we're trying to bring some legitimacy to everything and show people that hey, like we're trying to make something that you can stand behind.
Right. And let's move on, shall we?
Oh man.
Oh yeah, booyah. Now that we're done with the crypto space and Azuki, we have to talk about Overwatch, of course.
All right. Sure. This was the original Overwatch lineup.
I do have to note that Torbjorn, you had to include a dwarf in there to tie it back into Blizzard. Is that true?
It wasn't so much that we had to. We had to make something both that we felt passionate about, that we felt like pushed the boundaries of what Blizzard art could be. Yep. And our way of doing that was like, we have a dwarf in there, we have a giant space marine with giant shoulder pads in there. We have a femme fatale sniper.
Yeah.
All of these characters were kind of like harkening back to some of the archetypes that Blizzard really likes to use.
When you're creating a character like Widowmaker, like how do you like blue sky something like this?
I remember we had like this really pale looking sniper character, but then she had like this weird techie helmet on and you couldn't really see her face. So one of the things we realized about Overwatch is like if we want these characters to speak to people and to resonate with players, we want to show expression, we want to show their faces, and slowly we started coming up with ideas of Black Widow, Widowmaker, and what if like she's a Widowmaker, but she actually killed her own husband. You jam with other creative people on the team, and they bounce back ideas, and slowly
takes a village.
Exactly.
You were involved with this, no?
Yeah, we were in the process of redesigning a lot of the characters for Overwatch, and I think because we wanted the new iteration of the game to feel like a proper sequel.
We have to talk about Tracer, obviously. But I think the glaring thing about Tracer for me is that she's very, very different from anything else Blizzard related.
When we designed her, we didn't think that she would be like the main character of Overwatch, but then in many ways, she embodies so much of what Overwatch is, like the optimism, the heroism.
I freaking love this character.
Oh yeah. Wrecking Ball.
Wrecking Ball, I think that's a Hammond up there.
Hammond, yeah.
Hammond, the hamster. The interesting thing about this one is that you guys went through quite a bit of ideation for Hammond.
Yeah.
Right?
We did. Where'd you get this?
Hey man, I did my homework. And I know that you guys use Tracer as like a guideline.
Yeah. Wrecking Ball was very polarizing, even within the team.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like we're bringing a
hamster?
intelligent hamster
Hey, what's wrong with that?
into the game. But then we wanted to find as many ways that we could to kind of ground him into the universe.
Right.
And one of the ways was like, okay, well, we can't really make him the scale of like an actual hamster because that would just be ridiculous and you wouldn't see him.
Yeah.
And we wanted, because I think when you shoot Hammond in the game, he actually counts as a headshot. So we wanted to make him like a certain size. So here are some kind of just like explorations around like, okay, what if he was like Pikachu size?
This article about the lineup of Overwatch and obviously Team Fortress 2 and the striking similarities between them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so serendipitous because I have both of you guys here. on this
Yeah.
couch.
We were literally looking at the art style guide of Team Fortress 2 and Dota 2 when we were making Overwatch. At least when we were making the art style guide, because those were awesome just bibles of like how to make a game readable.
Like would you say that Moby kind of set the standard for shooting games?
Definitely.
Well, I think for this genre, but I think for me, when I approached Team Fortress 2, just analyzing the game, it just made sense to create characters that had like extremely exaggerated features. You can notice like when you squint your eyes, the characters are always in silhouette no matter what.
Okay, well, keep that thought. We're gonna look at silhouettes next. Silhouettes are hugely important in character design.
Right, it's a building block. Right.
And that leads us into our teaching moment. Teaching moment. Today we're gonna talk about a character design silhouettes.
Shape can mean a variety of different things. So a circle is usually more of a friendlier shape. A triangle shape is a little bit more aggressive. Like you use all those shapes to basically convey
A language?
Ooh. Which is based off of what?
Shape language.
Language.
What is the importance of a good character silhouette, and how do you make them different from each other?
In a lot of video games, you want a player to recognize immediately what they're fighting against, what they're shooting at. Silhouettes are not just about the design of the character, but it's also about how the character stands and how they pose, how they hold their weapons.
And animation also is a huge factor because it turns into an impression.
I would say if you want to do compelling silhouettes, you have to have a page on it like this, because you can't just make one silhouette in a vacuum. It's really hard. You have to really
compare and contrast.
Exactly, compare and contrast. You want to make every single one different than the one previous.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. And let's move on to our next artist. This is obviously Capcom Design Works.
Capcom Design Works.
What kind of impact did Capcom Design Works have on you?
Dude, it's everything, man.
I know.
Everything. We grew up idolizing the Capcom artists and studying every single page, every single illustration from this book.
Capcom Design Works was my Bible. But let's move on to
Bengus.
Bengus,
Bengus.
the man that started it all.
Yeah.
But when I look at this, it still holds up.
It does, dude.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how it still holds up.
Yeah.
There was nothing else out there that was like this.
Yeah.
And it both harkens to realism, more so than other kind of Japanese anime art did at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the style is just undeniable.
And not only that was the level of realism in the anatomy. It's describing so much anatomy with so little lines.
Yeah, and the forms hold up.
Bengus has done a lot of character lineups, but this one blows my mind.
It's crazy because I look at some of this stuff and I see Overwatch in it.
No, but the thing about this lineup though was that every single character is so unique. And then at the same time, the poses that he did for these, this key art,
man.
they look so good.
It looks like fun. They just look fun. It looks like he had so much fun doing it.
Yeah, let's move on. Oof.
Akiman.
Akiman.
This is the guy who's done it.
I stared at this piece for so long when it came out. I was just so in awe of the camera angle, the pose.
And the fact that he left the leg just strokes. It kind of conveys okay, that kind of motion blur. I don't know, but it just gives us so much more raw power.
And another ode to Akiman.
Yes.
Obviously, he brought this ink brush feeling to Street Fighter.
I remember when I first saw this, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not sure if I like this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but then as kind of time goes on, it definitely has stood the test of time and has grown on me. Yeah.
And then this Alex from Street Fighter, I think it was Third Strike or
This
Street Fighter 3.
Might have been Street Fighter 3. Yeah.
Street Fighter 3.
Kinu Nishimura.
Yeah, I remember seeing this on the side of the arcade machine, and I'd be like, "Who drew this?" Because it's fucking amazing.
I mean, I had the privilege to meet her. She gave me these comics, this Japanese manga, 3 issues that she told me really inspired her and really changed the way that she approached art after she read them.
Oh wow!
It's almost like a symbol of passing on inspiration, and that just meant so much to me.
Moving on to our next artist.
Oh, Edayan.
Edayan, yes.
With this piece.
This piece might have been my favorite piece out of the entire Capcom design work.
I remember you said that before, yeah.
Yeah. And I really gravitated towards it because of that next level of realism that he would put into his anatomy and his stylization, you know. Moving on, we have
Ikeno.
Daigo Ikeno. Yeah.
His characters have almost like this, more of like a fluid, animated feel to them.
But yeah, he kind of changed it by bringing something a little bit different, like these kind of like limited palettes.
Yeah. It's more form-based as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the energy though. Yeah, he really captured energy like really well. But then I think how he changed the game for me though was his interpretation of Akuma.
Yeah. The way he draws brow ridges.
Oh my gosh.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So much volume.
So much expression, you know. Ikeno gave me one of his sketchbooks in there. But
he give it to you?
He gave it to me as inspiration. He's like, here you go. Be inspired.
Young man.
Of the Capcom artists, like, they're all such cool people.
Yeah.
And they're all just like
very
want to
generous.
share and want to inspire and generous.
This is when, we invited Capcom to San Diego.
This is the first time I think we came.
Yeah. And then, of course,
man,
because of Udon's inclusion into the Capcom space, together, like myself, you, a couple other members of Udon, we like took money out of our own pocket because we were such big fans of Capcom and bought the license. But yeah, this was obviously, you know, drawn by me and painted by you and Ramel.
Yeah. It started with
just the middle. Yeah, just where the logo is. Like Ryu.
The new challengers, right?
But then because of how popular it was, we had to expand it.
Yeah, and then we did Alpha and the villains.
And I still get people referencing this all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know what happens to you too.
Yeah, people get me to sign like this thing. I'm like, dude, this is Alvin Lee. I'm just
no.
Just the colors.
It's not just me.
Collab.
Like this is a collaboration.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. Okay.
Oh man.
This is our next artist.
Joe Madureira, Age of Apocalypse. Yeah.
Like Joe was the originator of bringing like East meets West. Like after looking at his work, I was like, what is he looking at?
Yeah.
And then when I found Capcom like design works, that's when I was like, oh, I get it now, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously this
Battle Chasers
was a huge influence.
Totally. Yeah, I can see influence from like Calibretto's silhouette in, you know, when I draw like robots in like Reinhardt or whatever.
And this is a little bit more recent. I think this is like his anthology cover. But I just love looking at Joe Mad pencil.
Yes.
You know, when he draws, he always draws with some line weight. Like it's almost like his pencils are inked already.
Yeah.
You know? All right, let's move on.
Oh man! Holy crap! Where'd you dig this up?
Well, I mean, from the vault, obviously. But what does this piece say to you, Arn?
This piece says to me like a young artist, his dream has come true. Way too early.
At that time, this was a very like unique and innovative style, the painterly style. Not a lot of artists were doing that in the comic book space, and Arnold was one of the first. I think after he did this for Joe, he was like, Arnold's gonna color my shit from now on.
That's awesome.
Is that not true? It's totally true.
No.
We have to talk about this, which is kind of serendipitous for me, because like I worked for Riot for obviously many years, and to see him doing Riot characters, it's almost like, you know, when your heroes become your contemporaries. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
So for me, this has a special place in my heart. Definitely. And let's move on to our next artist, shall we?
Sure. Let's do it. Oh, wow.
Boom.
Laurel Austin.
Laurel D. Austin.
Yes.
Oh, man. Laurel is one of those artists that you just hate so much because she's so damn good at everything. She's humble. And yeah, I remember when she first joined Blizzard, and she just brought so much knowledge. Like she did a workshop on like just expressions that blew my mind, like how different characters emote, like, or how you can you know, express different emotions, how you do eyebrows and eyes, and
even like the way that the eyes, the expression, like they're slightly like raised, like the underlids. Yeah,
and that specular highlight on his nose is so satisfying. You know,
it is.
It's like the shiniest thing in the whole piece. Yeah, so good. All right, let's move on. is another piece by Laurel that I love.
Nice. She got a dinosaur in there. I know she loves dinosaurs. So
Yeah.
Probably had fun with that one.
Yeah. But
Brink?
Brink. Yeah, I had to include this just to show her versatility.
Yeah. Like very realistic textures and colors, but then over very push proportions.
Yeah.
Very unique.
And of course,
Yeah.
we had to include this just because of how freaking cute this dinosaur is.
I know.
How can a dinosaur be cute? There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, the colors are so good.
Oh, I love the underlighting. Of the
Yeah.
grain.
Yeah, the grass.
So true.
Oh, yeah. I think this is the cover to her art book, actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, support Laurel Austin at laureldAustinart.com. You can pick up a copy of Dinosaurs in Repose. Here's another our most heavily requested.
You haven't done Kim Jung Gi?
No.
This guy is the master. I think
Absolutely.
any artist.
To watch him
Yeah.
in real time.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's a printer. He just.
All in the brain, out through the hands.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
Onto the canvas. But the fact that he's able to do this, right, and then like engines that are like all the components work and compression folds, like all the like he gets it all down perfectly.
Yeah.
And he's designing in perspective, in ink, in real time.
He has so much detail in his drawing. But how does he layer it in real time? You know what I mean? Like the overlap of things.
He knows what, like something's gonna go in front of this, so I'm gonna leave this blank and then.
Exactly.
I remember when he came to Riot in 2013.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about him.
This is the piece he did at Riot.
That's right.
One thing that's interesting during this demo was that a lot of people asked him, like, you know, does he have photographic memory? It was like one of the major questions. He said no.
No, he doesn't.
He said no.
It's just practice?
He said it was just all practice, yeah.
Dang.
I'm like, are you sure?
So he says.
He basically just walked around the office, like one time. Like he did a tour. And then when he started drawing this, he drew employees into the piece. And we're like, that's Katie.
Yeah, and
he
I
didn't
see
draw
like
this
Chris
like
Campbell right there.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
He drew this from memory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though that when he is doing his pieces, it's not instant. Like he will do like a stroke and then he'll think.
He's probably planning like, okay,
exactly.
I'm gonna have this here so I can't draw.
It makes him
in this
somewhat
space.
more human, you know?
Yeah.
But it still happens pretty quick though. And on that note, this concludes our episode. This is the last piece of the day. Thank you so much for being on. And
thanks for having me.
For all you viewers out there, hit the like button so we can continue bringing guests like Arnold onto the show and get the word out there. Help us out with the algorithms. Leave a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.